Hello and welcome to New Game Plus. My name is Donald and I am joined this week by Megan. How are you?
I'm excellent, thanks for asking. How are you?
I am doing not too well. I think I've done all the homework I need to for this very Marvel episode. As in, I think I've watched all the movies twice. I've watched the Myriad TV series over and over again.
That's amazing.
There are apparently some comic books about this thing, but I don't know. Like, I think that's just for the hardcore people, really.
That's it. We're talking about Marvel vs. Capcom Ultimate and the fighting game that kills and just absolutely slays. I am very terrible at this game.
I can say the exact same thing. When I played Marvel vs. Capcom 2, my main strategy was to pick Mega Man and then just to spam his gun over and over and over again.
Connoisseur. If I could put that on my resume as my title being like button masher professional, I would. But I really love that. And
you'll do well in Hawaii being a spam connoisseur.
Oh, really?
The food's really big over there.
Well, I feel like there's a lot of value for surface casual players and things like that for that game, but I hope you guys enjoy the review for that one.
Yes, we also discussed a bunch of other games this episode. Cuphead, the critical darling, game that I'm sure maybe 3% of you have actually finished, because that game be hard.
100%. I think if you've seen any Twitch streamers play this game or even picked it up yourself and got your butts kicked for days, you know, congratulations and good luck to you, but it's definitely bloody tough.
But really, we play video games for the challenge, don't we?
That's it. I suppose so. And I think there's another fun one, a classic, in fact, Sonic Forces.
Let's just put classic in as many inverted commas as we possibly can.
Agreed.
It's fitting that we talk about Sonic Forces as well, because we also have a panel on objectivity in game reviews and whether we should just lean into subjectivity for review sets. Because I think the objective opinion on Sonic Forces is that it is not a good game, and Gerard is currently giving me the biggest death stare
Don't look
in
at him,
town.
Donald. He doesn't mean it. But essentially, can you really get subjective game reviews anymore? I mean, objective. But yeah.
I mean, we'll discuss that in our panel. So look forward to all of that in this episode of New Year Plus. Let's just roll straight into the Marvel content, shall we?
Enjoy, guys.
Well, we're definitely getting into the swing of the gaming season now. There's a lot of titles coming out hot and fast, and now, of course, we've got Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite from Capcom, of course, their name's in the title. The next series in the Versus game. It's a sequel to Marvel vs. Capcom 3. A lot of fun I had with that one back in the day. We've brought my sparring buddy Shane along here to talk with us.
I'd call myself more a punching bag than a sparring buddy.
Don't be like that, Shane, if it's true, but it's okay. Look, similar to Street Fighter V, we've got a new fighting game from Capcom. If you're on the net, you know there's a little bit of drama that happens every time a new fighting game comes out. It's the fighting game fans, they're passionate like that. Street Fighter V copped a lot of flack, a little bit of drama back in its release on day one for being a bit of an incomplete game. Like you launched Street Fighter V on launch day, the menu was half of it was grayed out. Now we got Marvel. It's a bit of a similar situation where it's got some drama. Not the same reasons. The menu's there. The whole game's there. It's just not that good of a game.
And there's a lot that's missing, especially in the faces of everything. Like, there's always something that gets you when you look at a character's face and it's like, that's not Ryu. That's more of a, like, you know, some sort of serial murder, you know. I don't know. It's weird because you think that Capcom, they're not alright design. Like, 5 was, the issue that was there was not the characters themselves. 5 release just was terrible. This game's release, while it's actually a really, really good game, everything about it just drags you out of it.
Yeah, so the graphics in one thing, that's kind of the first thing you notice with this. Marvel, it's always kind of brought on the comic book thing, like Marvel comic books. It's Marvel vs. Capcom 3 had a strong cell shading style to it, and it really popped. It was really bright and vibrant. This game looks completely different. My theory, my guess is that, well, a lot of people's guesses is Disney have gotten to the helm of this. Of course, Disney own Marvel, and we've got a theory that they've kind of leaned on Capcom to make it look realistic, to make the characters not look cartoonish, to kind of look a bit more like their Marvel Cinematic Universe counterpart.
And the thing is, like, a lot of the characters that, on the Marvel side, actually look not half bad. It's like some faces are still a little bit off, but even then, like, the character design, even just costume design, everything, like, looks really, really nice. Then you switch to Capcom's side, and you're like, there's a lot missing, especially if you're a human. Like, Nemesis looks really, really nice. He looks like all monstery and stuff, even though it's probably just literally taken from something else. But everything that's human just doesn't look human.
Yeah, look, you know, it's a theory. It might be Disney's fault, but it's kind of an easy theory to make when you look at the game and you feel like a lot of the package is all kind of focused around the one Marvel Cinematic Universe. And really, there's no the roster lineup, the stages, the story, everything about it. There is a story mode this time around, like this time around being at the start of the game, actually included when you buy the game. Goes for about 2.5, 3 hours long, but it's
very Marvel.
It's it's very much like a modern Marvel movie. There's a bad guy, there's a bunch of good guys. They get strong, they defeat the bad guy. Spoilers, sorry. They share a lot of funny, humorous quips between each other along the way, and it's kind of done. It's not really anything significant. I think the main thing you're looking at with a fighting game is the gameplay, of course.
And that's the problem. While everything else just takes you out of it, the game itself is actually really, really well done. Like, there's a lot of new mechanics there that actually really, really play well together. Once you actually get your hands on it and actually, like, learn, it's really, really fun to play, especially when you're versing someone who actually knows how to play the game.
Because, the gameplay, it's... One thing that Capcom do, one thing they do well is every time they create a significant iteration in their series is they change it up a lot. They completely mix up the mechanics, and you'll end up with a game like Street Fighter 3 to 4 to 5, same with Marvel vs. Capcom, it feels completely different. And the main difference they've made this time is they've done away with the raw assist button. Like in Marvel 3, you would just press a button, a character would come into the screen, do one move, and then leave. This is completely different. It's a bit more like Tekken Tag, where you'll press your tag button. It's not assist anymore, it's tag, to bring your other character in, and then you'll actually input a combo and start playing as the second character, tagging them back and forth. So it's not so binary that way.
Yeah, and you've also got the gem system, which maybe is a lot better than the, like, you know, that other gem system that we won't talk about because that's a different Capcom game. But hey, the gems actually work as an element of actual gameplay. They're really, really interesting in the way they actually are used. Like, you've got your space ones, which, you know, you can pull characters towards it or literally lock them in when you actually have the energy to do it. Or there's like reality, which basically is an attack you could throw out, which is very slow projectile, which then you can use to like rush in. It's something that like helps you with your combo even starting. Then there's a few other ones that are really, really cool, like Soul, which brings you two characters alive at the same time. It's really, really well done and actually really well balanced. But then, even then, like, the effects that they bring in can sometimes be overpowering. Like, graphically, that's even brings it back. Graphically, it's just...
I pick up that word overpowered you used, though. I think when you've come into the game, like, it's a fighting game. We're still pretty early in the life, and you see overpowered. I kind of feel like it's one of those games where nearly everything is a bit overpowered. A lot of characters have something overpowered. When everyone and everything is overpowered, it kind of gets a bit balanced in a way.
I don't think overpowered is the right word I was trying to say. Like, the system itself is overpowering. Let's say that. There's a lot there that you can get yourself lost into. And it's a really, really good game if you actually can get your hands on it and you can actually understand, like, fighting game mechanics. If you can't, you're going to have not much fun.
Yeah, the Infinity Stones, they scared people off a lot at the start, but they're really not that big of a deal. They are a big deal, but they're a lot of fun. And that's what eventually comes down to the game. We've complained about some things, but at the end of the day, when you're sitting there, when you're pressing the buttons, it is fun. There is fun to be had. And especially with the Power Stones, all these things, they've actually brought in the Power Stones, quite an interesting concept with the tournament competitive scene. They've created a league where players will actually get real-life stones to use in a real-life tournament that's going to go on throughout the year for Marvel vs. Capcom. So that'll be that'll be interesting to follow along, and it should give the game some length, some legs.
That's the one thing I'm hoping. If this game actually has some length behind it, it'll be really, really good. If it gets into the, you know, like literal infinites, it's going to lose me.
Well, recently I did an impressions video for the show about Sonic Forces, where I was pretty happy with the game and then promptly got accused on YouTube of being on the take from Sega for liking it so much. Now, there seems to be a disconnect between gamers and reviewers sometimes. There's an expectation that all reviews should be objective or at least consistent. I've got here Jason and Shane to discuss a subjective look at objective reviews. Can we actually be objective when we review a game?
I don't think there is such a thing as a 100% objective review.
I don't think that's possible.
No,
like
100%.
Okay.
Every moment of every day affects your bias somehow.
Yeah.
Whether you acknowledge it or not, you cannot 100%. We aren't robots. This isn't a pure fact that we're dealing with. You can't measure it in any meaningful way. You can, of course, have milestones, which you say this is what we consider good and what we consider bad. But I mean, how do you objectively rate a graphic style?
Well, you could graphic style is impossible. Same as maybe story. Maybe you could rate like the actual, you know, pixel rate of an actual texture or like the actual game itself. But even then, like half of it will probably be your shitty TV.
Yes, yeah, and that is the hard part. Is there is no particular way to straight up say this is what like a good
game.
like you can say what a good thing is, but you cannot say this is the perfect thing, and that's the hardest part of any objective quote unquote review.
Because there's no such thing as perfect.
Well, I mean, you talk about different parts of a game. So there's like some places try to give a score for 9 out of 10 for graphics, 8 out of 10 for sound, X out of 10 for gameplay, and so on. But even there, I mean, you look at the most popular game of all time. It's Minecraft, where the graphics aren't really that good.
But it's also not core to the experience. You don't gain anything by having. But then a lot of companies don't understand what made Minecraft so good, and so they make these like HD build-a-thons that are basically like Conan Worlds or whatever it's called and stuff like that.
They have all the small other things that they want to add. They're like, nudity, Steam. But they're
But you see what I mean? Like that's what I mean. Is they literally missed the point of what made Minecraft.
In contention of that though, like Dragon Quest Builders, which hit where Minecraft was doing well, and then added a few things themselves. That said, no multiplayer, which was a bit of a weakness. But
so it really is tough to. That's why we haven't done scores for a long time. I insisted on it. I find you can always rate things in relation to each other, but as far as rating the individual elements, I think it's unnecessary. Like a game needs to be treated as more than the sum of its parts, and to do it the injustice of stripping it down into parts.
It ruins the experience. The game is an experience. It's not just these 5 core parts of the game. Like elements of a story connected to elements of like a soundtrack. Them two together can make an experience for you that you will actually maybe enjoy. Maybe someone else won't enjoy.
And at the same time, I mean, this is where you can even bring in multiplayer communities. Multiplayer communities can wreck or make a game. Depending on what they do. So from that point of view, it is really tough to even objective. I just genuinely don't see how you can have pure objectivity in game reviews.
It's just,
and I don't think that's necessarily what people are asking for anyway.
I'm not sure. Like some people, I think are, and they're delusional.
Yes.
Are they really though asking just to be agreed with? I mean, there's an element of that on the internet, surely. Just quickly on, you mentioned soundtrack and music, audio, sounds. They're very personal things, and a similar thing to that would be story. Like the story in a game, like as anybody who watches the show knows, I'm a massive Deus Ex fanboy, right? Because the story just connects with what I like, but it doesn't connect with everybody. So when you say this is a good game because of the soundtrack, which is a very personal experience, or the story, which to some people the conspiracy-laden Deus Ex story is just not interesting, and to others it is. You can't even really then recommend it to somebody else unless they're pretty much you.
Yeah, that's the thing. When we're doing reviews, we're not reviewing for really anybody else except for ourselves. This is like 100% subjective, I'd say.
Okay, I get what you're saying.
Maybe
but
not.
I don't think that's the way to do it.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, if you're making something for yourself and not an audience, it's
then
masturbation. Right. But basically, there is a trust.
Yeah.
There is a trust that you have with the audience that's watching you, that's engaging with you and what you're creating, that understands where you come from, and I think you need to be obvious with your biases. Like whenever someone from Blizzard makes some snide remark, I'm like, half the problems in the industry are your fault in the first place. So you know what I mean? Like, and then they're doing like StarCraft ads where it's like, oh, now you're manly for doing it. It just infuriates me. But that's because I don't like Blizzard. So I will never review a Blizzard game because I cannot pretend for a second that I'm going to do that in any meaningful way that is going to offer any conversation outside of I think Blizzard are trash.
And in like opposite of that, if give me a Falcom game. And I probably can't give it a bad review.
But you can also be realistic in the rounds in the scheme of things anyway.
While we're upsetting publishers, and we'll do a lot more of it later, anybody wants to continue, we're going to continue this discussion. Anybody who wants to keep watching, check us out on YouTube, youtube.com/NewGamePlusTV or NewGamePlus.tv, our website. We're going to keep going, but for now, TV viewers will leave us. But go see us online.
Now, Sonic is one of those franchises that has an interesting history. This year, though, we've had a really, really good Sonic game in Sonic Mania. Sonic Forces is the second game this year. So I thought the only way we could really do this justice is to bring a cynical old codger like me and add a cynical, non-cynical old codger like Gerard to the mix to talk about Sonic Forces. Because, believe it or not, Gerard still loves Sonic games, and it's not 1996.
No, I like to live in the past.
That's fine.
what I do on
Just
Game
in case
Plus.
people hadn't guessed, it's called Old Game Plus for a reason.
Yes. Well, look, Sonic has had a hit and miss reputation,
Yeah.
and part of the reason for that is that there's some things Sonic does really well, and there's some things Sonic does badly. Now, when Sonic first made the move into 3D, it was very early on, moving all
With
the
adventure and stuff.
Yeah, Sonic Adventure worked good. Everybody's working out how to get all the platformers into 3D mode,
Yeah.
but it fell into the trap of thinking it's a platformer as such. And now, what I'd say there is that Sonic in 2D is obviously a platform, but it was always fast. And
Yeah.
so in 3D, it's more like a racing game.
Yeah.
So Sega
Well,
should
it was literally about picking lines.
yeah, and Sega should have gone down the path of almost a cross between Crash Bandicoot
Yeah.
and Sega Rally, which is what they did every so often. And when they didn't try to be a Mario game, Sonic games were a lot of fun.
And this is the thing with, like, obviously the open world sections of Sonic Adventure were okay because it's literally just to traverse the world, but the way, like Sonic Unleashed and all of these other Sonic games, the problem they faced was they turned it into standard platformer, and even Mario at that point wasn't being a standard platformer.
No, and it probably took until Mario 64 for developers to work out how
Yeah.
to do a really good 3D platformer. But like I said, Sonic is fast, and it's not really a 3D platform game.
Yeah.
And that's why the good news for anybody that likes Sonic is that this is not a 3D platformer Sonic as such. This is like a Sonic racing game.
It switches between, this is the thing people need to understand about the stages. This is before we even go into the story, which in itself is a very unique proposition.
Yes.
It goes from 3D to 2D, and it just changes depending on the map that you're in. It's not like Generations, for example, where it was, here's a 2D map, here's a 3D map, here's a 2D map, here's a 3D map. It's fair to say.
Yeah, you don't select each one with a 2D and a 3D mode as such.
Yeah.
You go around the world doing them. But also the 3D levels they do switch within that level. And I do wonder where the 2D sits now, because we had Sonic Mania,
Which was a very good game.
It was excellent to play. And I do wonder if some criticism about this would be, are we getting too much of a good thing with the 2D Sonic and not enough of the 3D Sonic, which is genuinely entertaining to play.
And the other side of it as well is this story that they've gone for. It's Doomsday in Sonic World.
Yep.
You make your little persona, and Gerard obviously took some glee in making his little persona, and you play as like the player character. You have your own created character, you play as them. Did that work for you? I don't think Sonic could take it seriously enough to do that well.
Well, Sonic, when you play as a mix. So you've got your old Sonic makes a reappearance, you've got your new Sonic, and you've got your avatar character, and you do have a mix of them. And you're the rookie, and you're helping out, because at one point Sonic gets kidnapped.
Yes.
And I'll say something about the cutscenes. The cutscenes are very reminiscent of, well, not reminiscent, it's not that old, the cartoons, Sonic Boom cartoons.
Yes.
They're inspired by the cartoons, and there's some parts where you can even see the play between the characters there, where Eggman calls Sonic his frenemy and stuff like that, which is, and the robots do that, and that's really, really charming if you like the Sonic Boom cartoons, which you should watch the Sonic Boom cartoons.
So that's my question to you then. Is it still worth playing? There's been a lot of negative press, but I figured I'd give you a chance to say whether it's worth it.
There's always going to be some negative press with the Sonic game, because there is a sort of
It's cool to hate Sonic.
It is cool. Let's be honest. It's trendy, especially in some circles. But this game it's left out the things that Sonic did badly, which is the wandering around, the exploring, the Mario style stuff. It's not trying to be a Mario Sonic anymore, which is good. What it does a lot of is running fast, and the levels are long enough that they're entertaining. There are some areas where you can take different parts through. The game itself, probably about 6 to 8 hours to play. But in saying that, you can go back and do all the red rings. So you can go back. There's a lot of replayability in there. The thing that would have made it longer would have been to put in those exploring sections and have you wander around. But that's the thing that nobody liked. I mean, nobody liked those in the other Sonic games. Sonic, as Forces, Sega has done everything good that we like about Sonic and how to play, and left out all of the stuff that's really irritating.
Well, October is here, and thus continues the deluge of great games coming out this year. And of course, another one that, I consider great, Cuphead. You might have seen it out on videos around the internet, where one of the most obvious facts first of this Cuphead is the visual appeal of a side-scrolling action platformer inspired by 1930s cartoons, where you think of something like Steamboat Mickey or those old-school cartoons where You know those cartoons, Shane? Old school, like I saw this originally, it looks like Steamboat Mickey, the kind of old black and white style, very, very original early cartoons.
Yeah.
So I came into Cuphead expecting this cheery, bright, cheery platformer, family-friendly sort of thing. And you get into it and find that it's actually kind of really low-key dark. It's really creepy.
But the thing is, it hits that actual 30s like cartoon style because that's what it was back then. It was actually surprisingly creepy about like killing everything and the devil. But the game itself is such a delight. Even though it's creepy and like really, really dark, the world is so colorful and contrasting to the actual story itself. It's amazing.
It's a real juxtaposition, isn't it? It's something you don't really notice until you get into the game. It's something like, if you're playing it with kids, it's probably fine for kids.
Yeah.
It probably is fine for the family because they're not even really going to pick up on just the fact that you're actually, the main character's tasked with literally going out and collecting souls for the devil. But regardless of all that, I think the main point of Cuphead is the excellent gameplay. I've likened it a bit to Super Meat Boy. It does play a bit differently to Super Meat Boy because this one, of course, has got weapons, a variety of weapons. It's a little bit of a structure, but it's got that same style of super tight controls and a large amount of difficulty. The difficulty is really the main part of the game where they've just balanced it. In my opinion, it's an excellent balance of difficulty. It's that type of game where you're gripping the controller tight, you're sticking your tongue out, you're trying your hardest, you've got to constantly be on the ball. So don't let the nice, fun nature of it fool you. It is quite a difficult game. So if you struggle with difficult games, it might be a hard time. Although I have heard of a lot of people still enjoying it while dying over and over and over again.
It's one of those games where I think that even if you are dying a lot, there is the simple difficulty if you really want to go there, but nah, who wants to go simple? If you want to be like trying and actually really succeeding in something that's difficult, it has a really nice feel to it when you like die 20 times to this one single boss that, you know, throws out a different pattern at you that one time, and then like the third time it's a different pattern, and even though it's like, oh man, I know everything. It's just, I keep dying to this one thing, and then you do it. It's such a satisfying feeling.
I think what's one of the things that makes it really good, because it sounds a bit bad at first, it's difficult, you're going to die over and over again, and you sound like, well, I don't really want to do that. I think they're structured in a way that's really nice. A lot of the bosses will have varying phases, stages, and they'll be different each time you play it. So you're trying a boss over and over again, and it'll be a little bit different each time. There'll be different sub-bosses, different phases, so it's not quite as repetitive. And I think that's why they've kind of structured this game. It's mostly boss battles. There's not a lot of run from point A to point B. There is a few levels. They call them the run and guns.
Which really is basic Contra levels. Let's like, it's puzzle-based Contra levels, which I've done really, 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 really well, except for the part where you die and you go straight back to the start. They're difficult and sometimes in the wrong places, which is kind of annoying, but still actually really, really fun to like challenge yourself to it.
That's right, and I found the difficulty was great, the gameplay was great. The overworld, there wasn't a lot of, like the gameplay is awesome, the aesthetics, the visuals, everything when you're sitting down playing the levels is great. There wasn't a lot in between the levels. The overworld was a little bit underwhelming.
Yeah.
And there wasn't a lot in cutscenes or anything in between the levels. It was just kind of a short still image here and there. And considering the presentation, the characters and everything about it, would have maybe liked a little more padding in between. But the actual game you get, it plays really well.
It's an amazing game, and if you actually can get your hands onto the actual gameplay itself, you will find yourself enjoying every moment. The problem is that there is some like small overworld issues, and there's actually a few save issues at the moment on PC. But if you can get past them, the game itself you actually play is just incredible.
It cannot be understated how hard Cuphead is, can it, Meg?
It is punishing, I'm not going to lie to you. It is gruelingly difficult and not for the faint-hearted, that's for sure.
Absolutely not. But at the same time, if you manage to get through the grueling difficulty, you've got this aesthetically wonderful game here. The art style is fantastic to behold. The music is really catchy, isn't it?
The graphics are absolutely beautiful and they suit the gameplay style perfectly. I think it's really unique and identifiable if you've never even seen it before. Like you'd know it with Cuphead looking at it from afar.
That, or you confuse it with a 1930s animated cartoon.
And
as opposed to those live action cartoons.
Absolutely right.
But here's the thing though, is it worth slogging through a hard game just for the sake of experiencing the game's audio visual, no matter how good the style is?
Unfortunately for me, if the game is really punishing and really difficult, it makes me feel like I'm a terrible gamer. It doesn't matter how pretty it is to make me want to continue playing. Unfortunately, it has to be more validating to make me feel like I've done something great and it's validating my skill set, whereas this game certainly does not do that for me at all.
Well, at the very least, you can just increase the death count that you have in the game, and the game does count the amount of times you die, and my hand, there is the frame not high enough to count for my number of deaths. Thank you very much.
Sure. And I also feel like because you can sort of lower the difficulty levels, that makes it a bit more like approachable for casual gamers.
Yeah, just make sure you leave your pride and dignity at the door. Cuphead doesn't mind. Or you could bring in a friend for the co-op mode, which you didn't get a chance to mention as part of the review, but that just brings chaos, doesn't it?
It's true. I mean, you do get double HP for playing as like 2-player co-op, but it also means you die just as fast.
Yeah, especially since the bosses do have like much more HP than usual. Now, here's an interesting question. You wouldn't play the game. Would you watch it on YouTube and Twitch?
I reckon I'd absolutely be down to watch it on Twitch for sure. Nothing would be more satisfying than watching your favorite influencer dying 1,000 deaths, painfully, but also just with some popcorn. It wouldn't go down.
Yeah, in the context of Cuphead or the context of otherwise, yeah, that statement would be absolutely grand.
Yeah,
So,
definitely.
Meg, are you up or down on Cuphead?
I'm definitely up. It's a great contribution to 2017's game lineup.
Yes, and we'll be talking about the games of our year next year, so tune in for that.
Don't miss it, guys. It's a great conversation.
Yes.
You'll love it.
In the meantime, though, thank you very much for watching. If you want more New Game Plus, go to our website, newgameplus.tv, where we have written reviews, we have our blog, and we also have all of our videos. Do also follow us on YouTube, on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram, on Pinterest. Yes, we have a Pinterest account. Look it all up. It's on New Game Plus TV. One word, no spaces. Thank you very much, Meg.
My absolute pleasure. Thanks for having me.
I've been Donald, and please tune in next week for more New Game Plus.
See you then.